On the 27th of November, 38 years ago, was the first day that my group came to the area around Wat Marp Jan. It was the area around the Longtia shrine, which at that time was a high hill which had grass coming up to about the waist. You could see the mountain from there, and it was very beautiful. It was an abundant, forested mountain. In the beginning, they were going to offer me a piece of land that was 2 kilometers away from here, about 20 acres, which was a durian orchard. It was a hilly area, but there was no forest. I went for alms round one day, and the head of the village, named Piak, who was the son of Suan and Somwyang, invited me to take a look at this area, which was forested and mountainous, and appropriate for bhavana, meditation. At that time that I came and saw it for the first time, I walked from a tiny meditation shack where I was staying to go here and met Bang On, the husband and wife who were pulling out potatoes. I asked them for directions and then walked in here. It was a good forest and mountain. And in the Vasa, the 3-month rains retreat, came here twice. After the end of the Vasa in 1984, on the 27th November, I came here for the first time. This was the 38th year anniversary. But the next day was the first day that I stayed here overnight for the first time. We soon built a small meditation shack. But at the beginning, we put up our umbrella mosquito nets under a tree and practiced and stayed like this first. We soon built 1 toilet there quickly. And there was 3 monks and 1 novice then. The first day, Venerable Ajahn Piak or Ajahn Prasopchai from Wat Vakram came here as well. Today, that monastery is called Wat Chitta Pawana, which I had spent 4 Vasa there before. And he came for seclusion, bringing the group here, to come to a peaceful place and to give encouragement as we were starting to build the place to be a secluded place for practice. Because at Wat Lamluka, the development had already come in around the monastery. So Kamatana meditation monks will want to find forest and mountains, places to practice in. And all the laity had hearts of faith, and so they made 5 kutis, monks' huts. We had a robe offering ceremony, and I remember they donated about 400,000 baht. This was gathered together to buy land, to build the monastery, and to take to build kutis. We got 5 kutis and built 2 toilets. So in the first Vasa, if I remember correctly, there were 8 monks and 1 novice who spent the Vasa here. So the arising of a monastery does not arise easily. Why? Because it requires faith. How does this faith and the confidence in building goodness arise in us? It wouldn't arise if there was no one to advise and teach us. If there is no Samma Sambuddha, perfectly self-awakened Buddha, if there is no Dhamma, if the Buddha did not teach, or there was no one to attain enlightenment after the Buddha and to teach the Dhamma, then we wouldn't know how to lead our lives. We would be deluded in this journey through samsara, the never-ending cycle of birth and death. It has been compared to if we entered into a forest and we aren't able to see, or our eyes are blind, and we don't go in the right direction. We don't know what path to take. We don't know which path that when we practice it, we will get to heaven. What path to get to the Brahma worlds, or what path to see Dhamma and to attain to the Dhamma. We will be lost. We will walk in the wrong way, and the mind goes down and lower, which is the hell, hungry ghost, asura, and animal realms. And we will go around being born and dying without end. We can compare it to the life we are born into. What was our first birth? Here we can think that we have our parents, but our parents have their own parents as well. And we could keep going on like this, of their respective parents, on and on. For 100 years, 1,000 years, there were parents of parents continually. Whether it is 10,000 years, 100,000 years, million years, or many millions of years back, it kept going on with no end. So our births that we have been born into have no end to them. We have the last life before this one, and before that last life, we had a life before that one as well. In that previous life way back then, we would have had past lives of that as well. So it went on and on. So we won't find where the first life is, because there is just continuous arising. So this is the beginning of the cycle of samsara. And what about the end of the cycle of samsara? From this life to the next life, and after this life, dying and being born in the next life over there, whether it is a Dewa, Brahma, human, or lower. Then from that life over there, dying from that, we will have a next life, and a next life, on and on, continuously. This is called the cycle of samsara. It is long and goes on and on. We don't know after how many lifetimes that it will end, and we'll have to go around and round birth and death. So the lives that we've been born into, we can't count. This citta, the mind, has travelled around the continual cycle of birth and death. We have received happiness and suffering, and have grown old, got sick and died. We did good and became a Dewa, or developed the spiritual qualities of jhana, absorptions, and became Brahmas, or we have goodness and virtue and became a human. So we must have done goodness in order to be born as a human being this life. And we have met the Buddha Sasana, the dispensation too. And we are likely to have met the Buddha Sasana before this as well. Or those with merit and barami, spiritual accumulations, have met with the Samma Sambuddha. Or those with more barami than this will likely have heard the Dhamma from a Samma Sambuddha. There were many venerable elder monks who had met the Buddha or had ordained as a novice in the time of the Buddha. The founder of the Thai forest Kammatthana tradition, Venerable Ajahn Anan, in the time of the Buddha, he was a minister, but he had aspired to become a future Buddha. He had not attained to arahantship, but he had a big following, because in this life he was born having insight knowledge and wisdom. He attained to arahantship, together with many great noble disciples, amounting to around 100 monks. And from Venerable Ajahn Anan, coming down to Venerable Ajahn Chah of ours, were arahants. They had a lot of merit and barami. They had built it a lot. And so we have got to this life, and we are fortunate that we have met with the teachings of the Samma Sambuddha, have met with Kruba Ajahns, the great venerable teachers, who are truly well practiced, who are arahants, from Venerable Ajahn Anan to Venerable Ajahn Chah. Or even if we weren't in time to meet them, but the Dhamma that they practiced in, of the teachings of the Samma Sambuddha, are still here. But the great teacher, Venerable Ajahn Chah himself, didn't want us to attach to him as our foundation. He said to attach to the teachings of the Buddha as our foundation. He didn't tell his disciples, "You must follow my teachings." But because his teachings, they were just the teachings of the Buddha. And so when we are fortunate like this, we must quickly search and build goodness. So may we have this birth in our hearts, which is the arising of the complete human being, and we progress to be a Dewa, to be a Manusa Dewo, where the body is human, but the heart has changed to be a Dewa. There is inner contentment and happiness. Building a monastery is a physical object inside the sasana, though it is a lot of merit, but we need to practice Dhamma so that the merit grows even more. Like for building a chetya or chedi, the great teacher may sometimes say that you have built a chetya already, but there isn't anyone coming to chant and sit meditation. It is true that we get a lot of merit, but we don't yet have wisdom. He said that we need to come to pay respects to the Buddha, take up the moral precepts, walk meditation, sit meditation, and to bhavana to develop the mind. Then we will get greater merit and goodness. Like coming to Wat Marp Jan here, which we have built the chetya already, and there are monks and laity who walk meditation around the chetya on each Wat Marp observance day 108 times. Here we have Venerable Ajahn Somchai, who leads this these days. And so why do we walk around 108 times? It is recollecting the virtues of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. But if we are peaceful already, then we don't need to walk 108 times. We walk around 9 times, and our mind is peaceful. Then that is enough. Like Venerable Ajahn Ginari, who would walk meditation for not a long time, and then would stop. He walked 5 minutes, and that was enough for him. On some days, he would walk 3 steps, or 10 steps, and he was finished. Ajahn Chah thought to himself then that he himself walked all day and was not yet peaceful. So if Venerable Ajahn Ginari walked only that much, then what would he gain from it? But Ajahn Chah had a lot of wisdom. He contemplated this and, here is a Krubajan who has trained already. He doesn't need to walk much anymore. But we still need to train. We must walk till we are peaceful. So walking around a certain number is for the mind to get peaceful. That is the result. But if we walk around and the mind is all over the place, or we sit in meditation and the mind goes thinking of various things, and then we say we have effort, though it is effort, but the effort hasn't really gotten anywhere. We still don't have the effort to give up the distracted thoughts. We still don't have the effort to give up the bad or unskillful. Venerable Ajahn Chah gave the example of going fishing in a dam that has no fish. We can fish all day and all night, but we won't catch any fish. There's no fish. So here on the 28th November is the 38th anniversary of Wat Marp Jan. May all those who have built goodness in the past, who have ordained, who have been nuns, mechis, who have kept the 8 precepts, that are still living, may they have more and more happiness. And may all those who have built goodness before, but who have passed away already, may they all have happiness and be free from all suffering.